Hello from northeastern Tasmania. This is Rita from Rustic, and I thought I'd share with you my place of joy and happiness where I operate my gallery and studio. This is the display window at the front, and it shows some of the goodies awaiting people who might like to come inside. So let's do that. There's my opening hours, and this is the blackboard at the front, which used to be a glass door, but when the glass broke we converted it into a blackboard. And through this window is a little sewing shop that belongs to my friend Judy, which is very handy because whenever you need any thread or anything like that, it's all within easy reach. So let's go through the door. And here we are in the gallery space. This used to be an old service station, and my husband did all the work to convert it. Did all the plastering, built a wall at the front because there was no wall, and the window is a salvaged window that we found in Launceston. And I've been here since 2005, but operating the business since 2003. So in October, Rustic will turn 18, which is a bit of a milestone, I think. So I'll just show you a few things as we walk around. This is the back of the window display, and this is the back of a hand-knitted vest which I found in a charity shop. It was a bone colour to start with, and it actually took the eco prints from eucalyptus and so on very well. I'll just come around and show you the front of these display items. This is a scarf which features a Banksia print and some eucalyptus. And Banksia doesn't work very well without iron, so I wrapped this around some rusty tin cans to encourage that colour and print. The same thing with this asymmetrical wrap. There's a Banksia print making a nice feature on the front of that. Of course, my old ladder and old window are adding to the display. I just love old things. I think they have such a story. I also have some of my cards in the window with some affirmative words on them. And on this old tea chest is a hand-woven woolen scarf which has been eco-printed with eucalyptus leaves and some rusty things such as a washer. This mannequin is very old. This was found in the rubbish dump shop, or the tip shop as we call it. I think it's about 100 years old, and a friend found it and rang me and asked me if I would like it. Well, you know what my answer was. I think it cost me a whole $5, and it's very much a treasured possession. And this mannequin is wearing a big scarf made from a woolen blanket and eco-printed with eucalyptus and I think some fern, and of course some rusty objects such as a bottle cap and a washer. Underneath is a vintage slip, which is a lovely soft terracotta colour from wattlebark, which is a type of acacia tree, and I used nails to tie circles into it, and they made some lovely marks as well. Here is a cloak hanging on the ladder which I made for my torn collection, which was launched in Launceston just over, or almost 2 years ago. No, just almost a year ago, not 2 years ago. And this gallery wall displays some of my textile art, all of which features some naturally dyed fabrics. They might be mixed with other fabrics, but yes, definitely some naturally dyed fabrics. This one is called Alchemy and is made of vintage blanket and some silk and some found objects. This one is Timelines, and it was a finalist in the Tasmanian Art Quilt Prize in 2016. The background is silk dyed with walnut shells. This little wall hanging is called Inspire, and it was part of a project to try to inspire people to think of creative ways to stop making so much textile waste. This wall hanging is machined rather than hand stitched. I'll just move back a bit so you can see it. It's called Still Waters Run Deep, and it features all eco-dyed fabrics except for the copper pieces, which are a type of lurex I had a small scrap of and cut it into tiny pieces. It features rose leaves, which have been appliqued in a 3D style of applique and also 2D style of applique. Some with a little bit of black knitting underneath to create a shadow. And the little flecks of copper are meant to represent the reflections on water. I started this and learned some of the techniques in a class with Caroline Sharkey, an Australian textile artist, but it's my own design and my own fabrics. It's a piece of eco-dyed fabric, also featuring wattle and iron and other things. This wall hanging was a piece of blanket from Waverley Woolen Mills that I wasn't happy with after I eco-dyed it, and it became the background for this. And the giant seed head is from an allium which my daughter grew, and the scraps came from the mending space on Instagram. So I used them just as they are, and then found some allium bulb photos that I could convert into stitch designs. But the seed head is actually in our lounge room. It's quite decorative. This next one is called No Tears. I'll just move around so you can see better. And I made this before, during and after I was diagnosed with cancer last year, and because of the support of my husband and family and friends, including the friends in this group, I was able to go through without any tears. And I'm not normally the kind of person that can stop crying if something's going on, so I'm very appreciative of that, and my faith also really helped me. The back piece in this, the background piece, is a piece of cloth that I buried in the ground, and then the others are scraps of all sorts of things, including tea bag paper, a vintage table napkin, scraps of wool wadding, an artist wipe, some string, and so on. And that's all hand stitched. Pardon me. This is called Billy T, and it was made for a challenge in a group I belong to called Stitching and Beyond, and expresses the idea that Billy T always has a gum leaf in it, and the shibori background actually has gum leaf prints on it to reference that. This is called Symbiosis. It was also for a challenge for the same group, and as you can see, I love using recycled and vintage fabrics. These are some lengths of fabric that I have available for sale. This is a piece of silk which has been eco-printed with eucalyptus leaves, and the next one is blackberry leaves, and the next one all sorts of things, including some rusty items. This one is called Bloodlines, and it's about the way things are inherited down through the generations, not just physical characteristics, but also memories and so on. And you know the old saying, blood is thicker than water. So I've left some of the threads hanging down as well, and kept it fairly simple and minimalist. This piece is called Lost Maps. Just step back a little bit, and it includes what I would say was a failed piece of eco-printing for the background, and the bottom part was also buried in the ground, as was the mulberry bark in the top. And that top piece reminded me of a map, which is why I called it Lost Maps, and it's about journeys and about trying to find our way. On the wall here, I have a beautiful silk kimono that was given to me. It was a creamy white colour. It's lined in silk as well and is hand stitched. I think it cost all of $10, so it wasn't actually given to me, but it felt like it because it just didn't cost very much, and a friend sourced it for me. And it took a while to have the courage to put it in the pot, but I'm very happy with the result. And it has interesting patterns on it, including from the string lines, because of the way it was folded. So I'm very happy with how that turned out. This is an old sewing machine down here, part of a collection. This is the oldest. It's a hand-operated sewing machine, and the cupboard underneath is also a sewing machine with a treadle, and the sewing machine is folded up inside. Just turning around, this is a beautiful Tasmanian blackwood cupboard which we've had for many years. And it's normally in our house, but it makes a great statement here at Gone Rustic, and really good for display. On the table are my latest experiments, I guess you could say. I've really been investigating stitched paperworks and have been teaching this online as well. This is a pair of works called Eagle, referencing the Tasmanian wedge-tailed eagle, which is endangered, but which we are very privileged to see flying over our property, which is in part 2 of my video for this group today. I'm just going around the table. This lovely old box has some more works that I've done. There's a series, if I can get it to stop reflecting, a series about cormorants, another series about feathers based on a feather that I actually have in my collection, and various other topics. This is a series of 4 called Currawong. These are lovely big black birds, bigger than ravens, that are often around where we live. And they make a call that's a bit like a trumpet sound. And they're quite social, and they even are playful at times. Traditionally they're called storm prophets. Apparently when they appear you're going to get a storm. This set of 3 at the front is called Focus, and these are a combination of collage and paint made from local soils, and includes things like tea bag paper and music, old sheet music. Also some strips of torn eco-printed paper, and the black paint has been made from charcoal from the fire. And I was deliberately trying to create a textured paint, and I added text and stitch to these. The ones I showed you earlier in this box and the Currawong series also feature paint that I made from local soils and charcoal, and it's been a wonderful journey of discovery. I've enjoyed it very, very much. These tables are used when I have workshops and group events. We have a weekly group that meets on a Wednesday. Everyone brings along what they're working on, and we just have a lovely time and chat and talk and laugh. Often not doing much stitching actually, but it's a lovely social time. I also wanted to show you this set of 4 stitched paper artworks that I'm working on at the moment. You'll see a kind of ghostly shape that looks like a head without a face, and this is a tribute to the babies who died, who were the children of convict women incarcerated at the female factory in Hobart. Over 1,000 were found. The children were taken away from their mothers at a very young age, maybe 2 months or less, and looked after in a nursery, but many died from disease and other things. It's a very sad story, and the quotes I've put in are about motherhood. So this has meant a lot to me to do this. And Dr. Christina Henry, who is a Tasmanian artist, has done beautiful installations to commemorate these babies, and has also done a similar thing to honour the 25,000 women who were sent out here as convicts to Australia, not just Tasmania. Just a couple more things as I go around the gallery. This mannequin is wearing a jacket that I found, and it's made of viscose. Has these prints from Rustic hands on the collar, and then other subtle prints on the jacket, and it's worn with a vintage slip, which is like a dress, and you can see the leaves printed on the dress. Nylon takes eco prints so well. Just here I have some little quilts that I made when I was going through radiation. Just hold it so it doesn't reflect. And that has some eco-printed and dyed fabrics in it, but also other scraps, such as cut up used artist wipes, vintage doily, and scraps of commercial fabric. I made 16 altogether. Some handmade books. These were made out of cardboard and art paper. Some accordion books which feature eco-printed covers, and I've called these Twilight because they're quite dark. Over here I have some Coptic bound books that have eco-prints on the cover, and I really enjoy working with book forms. And inside, some of the pages are uneven, which are great because you can attach things to those. And then in the back, there's a card with my logo and a description of what leaves I've used. And this part looks like corrugated iron, but it's actually from a rusty can, this print on the back. So that series of books is called Windfalls. As we go further around the room, there's this beautiful old chair which has been stripped of its upholstery because it was in rags, and it has a lovely metal frame and makes a great display item in my gallery. And on this little mannequin there's a scarf which has been hand stitched and dyed with avocado and onion, I think. These are packs I've made from the avocado dyeing that I've done recently, skins and seeds. An old table runner which has been eco-printed and has rusty objects in it. And the interesting thing about this is that the lace actually printed onto the fabric when I rolled it up, which was a surprise. This is another, not a big scarf, but it's more of a wrap, and it's like the one I'm wearing, which I'll show you in a minute, except much longer. This one's much longer, and it can be thrown over the shoulder as well. Features eucalyptus leaf prints, which I seem to specialise in, mainly because that's what grows here. And then I've hand stitched the back. And this is worn with another vintage slip, which I've eco-printed as well. And they make great dresses, especially on mannequins, but they do sell as well. And this is a jacket that I've made from eco-printed blanket wool. And I love the prints from the rusty objects and the eucalyptus, and then a bit of a collar feature here, and this rack with more goodies for people to browse through. And on this wall here is a piece I entered in an art exhibition called The Making of Mary Mordaunt, which was based on a book, an old book. And part of the idea was to use a book in the actual artwork. That was one of the requirements. So I actually shredded the book and stitched some of the threaded pieces onto the silk strips at the bottom. And they also went into an old suitcase with the cover of the book stuck on the front of the suitcase. The slip is from the 1920s and the jacket is Victorian. My daughter found it. And I've done nail prints on it and stitching other rusty things and plants from a rainforest near where we were living at the time. This wall hanging is called The Places I've Been, and it's like counting the days. And I actually made it before COVID hit, so it's rather interesting that I was thinking about that before we actually had lockdowns and so on. And that's eco-printed fabric and mostly vintage with some red circles just to give it a bit of a pop of colour. Through here we have a little sewing shop belonging to my friend Judy, and that's very handy when we need threads and fabrics and things like that. She shares the hours with me too, so we each do 3 days a week, which means we can be open 6 days a week. Gives us time to do our own thing at home. So I hope you've enjoyed this little video and a look around my gallery. I've enjoyed showing it to you too, and I really appreciate being part of this special day. And thank you to Maria and everyone who's made it such a wonderful time. Bye for now.